Hello dear chess friends of International Chess School. Today we will continue the ways to attack and which circumstances leads to creating a local PC superiority, which I consider to be one of the most important elements of the attack. The position from the board is extracted from a game between the legends of world chess of the 90s, Jan Timman from Holland and the German Robert Hübner. Both of them are grandmasters past 60 years now, but they still have the eye and the sharpness of play required for attack. The position arises from a French defense, where White employed a pawn sacrifice, which often leads to a leading development, and the leading development is related to speed. One of the most important attacking elements is speed, which means that the attacking side can improve the position of his pieces, can enhance their attacking power by the help of tempo moves, and in this case Black lost some of the potential energy by grabbing the central pawn d4. White played rook a1. If you draw a line between the d file and e file, like here, we will notice that the light square's bishop can easily be repositioned on d3, while the rook from d1 can dominate the fourth rank and be brought in attack on h4, for example, which means that Black will have three pieces out of play: the queen, the bishop, and the rook, and this makes a 6-to-3 attack, which is almost good for attacking the king. You may already know that you need only two pieces for mate in the end. Black played the natural queen b6. An important role played the knight from f3, and the fact that the e5 square is undefended. Since f7, f6 is not available, we can consider e5 as an outpost. In such cases, when you have such an outpost, it is not recommended to jump directly with the knight there. As you will see later on, White was able to exploit that square with a different piece. Queen b6, White took on d4 with the rook, and of course, if Black plays natural moves here, like h6, trying to develop the bishop on d7, the point is to deflect the bishop from g5. Otherwise, if bishop d7, bishop takes f6, and the bishop from d7 will be hanging. But White will have a certain superiority and a better endgame. Black's main problem is how to develop the queen side, especially the bishop from c8 and the rook from a8. So he accepted the invitation and took again a pawn in advance. He took on b2. His king looks pretty safe, but the bad thing, the drawback behind such moves is that they lose time, and Black is losing time while White is increasing the speed of attack. Besides that, the queen from b2 is a loose piece, an undefended piece, and I believe White already noticed that and try to figure it out how to exploit the undefended position of queen b2. In the process of thinking, you have to take this information step by step and try to discover the puzzle and to draw the right conclusion. Bishop d3. Now all white's pieces are ready for direct attack on the king side. White created a local piece of superiority. Black played h6. Maybe queen b6 was preferable, but after rook fd1, again black has troubles to develop the bishop from c8, h6, and now, like bolt from the blue, bishop takes h6, g takes h6. Now one of the defender, the g7 pawn, was removed. The king is exposed along the g file, but how to use the g file? For example, a quiet move like queen e3 here will be too slow, will lose speed, and it is a critical moment here. You have to find the best move, otherwise such advantages like advantage in development or a local PC superiority can evaporate. It's just a temporary advantage, and you should use it right away by finding the maximum potential for your pieces, which means finding the best move. After queen e3, which simply attacks the pawn from h6, but nothing further, the h7 square is well covered, and a maneuver like knight g5, knight h7, or knight e4, trying to deflect the knight from f6, looks a little bit clumsy, and it requires like 3 moves, and black can regroup with his pieces. So after queen e3, rook d8, simply trying to exchange one of the attackers. The rook from f8 was worst placed there, while the rook from d4 is very active. Now if rook h4, then bishop f8, and the bishop will excellently cover the dark squares. Please notice that white sacrificed the dark squares, and this kind of superiority on dark squares lasts just for one move. Rook takes d8, bishop takes d8, queen h6, and bishop d7, and the attack is gone. Black is threatening to bring the queen back on f8 with queen b4, queen f8, or he can activate the rook by playing rook c8, rook c5, rook h5. In both cases, white doesn't have time to continue the attack. And white's main problem is that he cannot coordinate the queen. The queen is the coordinating piece in this case, but he can't collaborate with the bishop or with the knight in order to attack the most vulnerable square, which is h7, which is g7 in this case, because h7 is covered. So take a look one more time at the position, and white found queen e5, which includes an immediate threat. Rook g4 check, winning the undefended queen from b2. Now king h8 was the right move, but the only move actually which saves the game. But it's hard to believe that one of us will do such a move in a game. He will put voluntarily the king on a pin, but is the only move. We have a pin here. Now knight e2, threatening to attack the pinned piece one more time. Now queen b6, and if knight e4, black is just on time. He can play rook d8, using the fact that the rook from d4 is attacked twice, and after rook takes d8, queen takes d8, the queen will defend one more time the exposed knight from f6, c3, and rook d5. Black arrived just on time to get rid of that pin, and after rook d5, e takes d5. It is a really lucky way to escape, but remember that chess is full of resources, and when you're defending, you have to figure it out which is the problem, which is the real threat behind the opponent's move, and try to solve that particular problem. Don't try to repel the entire attack. Try to focus on the immediate threat, on immediate problem. So after king h8, knight d2, queen b6, knight e4 doesn't work, but after rook h4, rook g8. Now if rook takes h6, then the king will try to escape by playing king g7, king f8. So queen f4, threatening mate. It's still very difficult for black to defend. Rook g7. Now after queen h6, black will cover the h file with knight h7, so rook takes h6. The point is that after knight h7 now, white will take twice, and he will grab the f7 pawn with check in the end. So king g8, queen h4, one more time, threatening mate, king f8, rook takes f6, bishop takes, queen takes f6, bishop d7, h4. Even here I prefer white's position. It is much easier for white to play. He simply threatens to advance h5, h6, and create promotion threats. So this was the best move for black, to play king h8. It's hard to believe that it works. So the sign here, the most important sign, the most important circumstance for white to start an attack and create a local piece superiority was the position out of play of queen b2. And besides that, black lost precious time to grab the pawn. Two tempos tend to be decisive in such situations. Black played queen b6, which is the natural move. Rook h4. Now the rook is collaborating with the bishop in threatening the h7 square, and further on it connects with the queen on the h8 square, while the knight is ready to jump on g5. The queen also threatens queen g3. There's a huge piece superiority. White is attacking with 4 pieces, while black is defending only with the knight and the h6 pawn. So in the end, at least 2 pieces will remain in attack. Rook d8. The point is that black wants to take a trip, a long trip, by playing king f8, king e8. Rook takes h6. Besides the knight from f6, the real threat is queen g3 check, king f8, followed by rook h8 mate. So black tries to put the king safe, king f8, queen g3. Again we have the same piece superiority, and the black king is smothered by his own pieces. It's surrounded by black pieces which doesn't defend, and The bishop on e7 is passive in this case. It can defend the dark squares. King e8, knight e5. Eventually, after the queen were activated by using the e5 square, just now the knight takes the same square. In the classical strategy book, it is recommended to use the outpost for a knight, but you have to read between the lines. The most effective piece from an outpost is a knight, but it doesn't mean that the outpost, the forepost, can't be used by other pieces. And in the modern practice, such an outpost is used as a trampoline for white pieces. Of course, if bishop d6, for example, then white will simply take the knight and then he will penetrate with the queen on g8. Black played queen c7. Of course, white is threatening queen g7. This is the threat, queen g7, followed by put this arrow, queen g7, followed by a double threat, queen takes f7 mate, and rook h8. So black played queen c7. Now if white plays rook h8, black is ready to bring the bishop on f8. Anyway, is a winning position after queen g7, but white played bishop e5 in order to force black to occupy the d7 square and to close the escape for the black king. For example, after bishop d7, queen g7, threatening the mate on f7. Now you see that the bishops are interfered between the queen and the vulnerable pawn from f7. Queen takes e5, rook h8, and everything is clear. And if after bishop b5, rook d7, the same, queen g7. Now the knight from e5 is untouchable because of rook h8 followed by mate on f8. So queen c5, rook h8, bishop f8, and now queen f7. Because the rook is pinned, the bishop from f8 is defended twice, but the pawn from f7 is undefended by the rook because the rook is pinned. So case closed. White is winning. It has a crushing position. What is to be remembered from this lesson showed us by the Grandmaster Jan Timman from Netherlands is that sometimes you can create a local piece of superiority when your opponent spend a lot of time grabbing pawns or simply leaving the king alone. Sometimes your opponent will leave the king unprotected, and living with the queen imbalances the position, and this was the case in this game. Till our